Good morning. It's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and, of course, Insegna Booksellers. And this is a wonderful morning because, I just had a few problems with the Wi-Fi and SOS. There's always something happening on a Tuesday. Sometimes everything goes smoothly, and some other times you sort of, with all the good intentions of the world, you get there a little bit, I don't know, things just happen for some reason. And that's probably the way things are with languages as well, because we're doing a letteratura italiana from the times of the Roman Empire, from when people spoke Latin, and they had a state language that was Latin across the whole of the empire. So people who wanted to do business and wanted to do, other things, they had to know the language of the state. This is lesson number 46. So we're moving on, and we are at the stage now where sort of the language, Italian, the language of the people, the new vulgus language, if you like, is coming into use via the poets, via the writers, and via the giullari, the actors, people who sang songs in the piazzas, etc. Because the rough period of the Dark Ages is sort of behind, and with the coming of the Crusades, the Christians moved. There was a threat. The threat was from the Muslim world. In that, Islam was picking up as a language, as a religion, right from the Middle East, if you like, through North Africa into Spain and coming into Europe. So the Pope had to do something, so he called the First Crusade. With that First Crusade, of course, there were also other commercial interests at stake, and up to that time, they had it pretty good for a few centuries, but then causes other changes to occur. So that's where we are at the moment, with historically speaking. And if you want to do yourself a favour, do go to some of our excellent series on Netflix or other platforms. I'm looking at that at the moment. So, but I'm aware that there are other platforms apart from Netflix. So I don't favour one against the other. It just depends on what you are using at the time, wherever you are. We are adaptable human beings. So if we are in different parts of the world, we might be using different platforms, from a technological point of view, but some people miss out altogether. And last night I watched most of it, almost to the end, when the Queen was put into the carriage, apart from the carriage, into the hearse, going right to the end. But I didn't watch it all right to the end. It was quite a lot, and I thought they were going to do it later on anyway. So that was it. And we saw the pageantry. We saw an incredible send-off to a well-deserved Queen who served for 7 years. Now, regardless of who you are in the world, whatever, one has to admire the consistency of this particular Queen and other queens in British history, in English history, and right across the world. So the monarchy has played a big part from the beginning of time, literally, because you always needed a leader, and the leaders were regarded as coming from, had a direct connection to God. So welcome to Frank Mazzacca. This is where we are at the moment, and I'm going to start with today with Poeti popolareggianti e l'epica francese e sua diffusione in Italia. So the language of the people came about also because there were, if you like, not pressures, but examples of people who moved away from Latin and used the local languages of the people. And then, of course, the crown of those countries, including France, they encouraged the writing in French and writing in English, for example, and also in Spain, the same thing. But in Italy it came a little bit later, and that's where we're at the moment. The poeti popolareggianti, they picked up from these other examples from different countries. So here we go. We start. All right. But before I do, I have to have a little drink. And I have today a poem that was written by Rinaldo d'Aquino. That's one of the poets of the 12th century, 13th century. Interesting. Okay, here we go. Ma al di sotto di tanta aridità e monotonia di formalismo, and we're talking about the troubadours. Welcome to Angela Miller. The troubadours, even at the court of Frederick II, people had to abide by certain rules. It was a lot of formalities in the writing, and it was quite monotonous. It wasn't, really inspirational stuff. It was created for the purpose that they wanted. Ma al di sotto di tanta aridità e monotonia di formalismo scorre una vena di schietta ispirazione e viene su dai sentimenti e dai modi del popolo. So the inspiration, if you like, in the changes in the writing came from the people. It didn't come from the courts, from the aristocrats. But even some of them did write in the language of the people, but they couldn't be seen to be doing it because, they were supposed to be in the upper class. Sono sovente gli stessi verseggiatori cortigiani che si liberano dai loro schemi e riecheggiano l'anima popolare. So, when you're bored, you go to the people and you go out and you get, you get your kicks from seeing people who live a normal life in a normal way. E riecheggiano l'anima popolare, cui prestano con simpatia la loro perizia tecnica. So they were people who could write, because most people, they didn't have schools then. So, you had to have a tutor, and you had to learn from when we were very young, so you're in a particular class of people. La loro finezza di intuito è la misura della loro educazione, so they were very well read and educated because they had personal one-to-one education. Welcome to Bart Sanciolo. Occorre perciò ben distinguere la poesia popolare nel pieno senso della parola, cioè i canti anonimi in cui il popolo effonde con inartistica seppur vivace immediatezza i suoi umori e le sue reazioni sentimentali. Even this language here needs to be explained. E la cui storia appartiene al folklore piuttosto che alla letteratura. So the changes in the language came about from popular use. It didn't just happen. E la cui storia appartiene al folklore. So the folklore, the singing, the fun and games that people have with words, it's there. They call it, distinguerlo dalla poesia popolareggiante, che nel Medioevo era quella dei giullari, i quali riprendevano e diffondevano per le piazze, talora anche nelle corti, i motivi e le situazioni più comuni della musa popolare. La ragazza che vuol marito, la maritata, il contrasto, dialogo amoroso, il lamento dell'innamorata, ed era inoltre quella di rimatori colti, i quali, come abbiamo detto, sono quegli stessi schemi popolari, imprimevano il suggello della loro perizia e della loro personale sensibilità. So what we have here is that the court people, the people who could write and read, went amongst the people, and they saw what they were interested in, and of course they created for the giullari, because the giullari were the actors. For the giullari, they created certain pieces that then they would sing or act by. So, la ragazza che vuol marito, you want to talk about that. La malmaritata, the one who misses out on being married to a person who could maintain her, malmaritata. Il contrasto o dialogo amoroso, when people are, opposites attract, and therefore they cause trouble, especially on stage. But in the end, because they love each other, they're always together. And that's why they say in Italian, they say, tra moglie e marito non mettere il dito. Okay. Il lamento dell'innamorata. And then, of course, this one, il lamento dell'innamorata, is the one that I'm going to read. Ed era inoltre quella dei rimatori colti, quali, come abbiamo detto, sono quegli stessi schemi popolari, imprimevano il suggello, they could write it, della loro perizia e della loro personale sensibilità. And they also added their own bit to it. Di questo tipo sono il lamento di una tradita diodo delle colonne e il lamento per la partenza del crociato di Rinaldo d'Aquino. Guess what? I've got it! I've got it right here. Oggi ho ritrovato questa poesia. That's the person, of course, all these things you look up, Google, Chrome, whatever. Poesia di Rinaldo d'Aquino, poeta italiano del XIII secolo, appartenente alla scuola siciliana di Federico II. È il lamento dell'amata al momento della partenza del suo uomo per le crociate, molto triste e molto bello a mio parere. That's the person who found it, and thank you very much to whoever you are. Okay? Here we go. Giammai non mi riconforto né mi voglio rallegrare. Le navi sono giunte a porto e or vogliono collare. Vassene lo più gente in terra d'oltremare, ed io l'assa dolente come deggio fare. C'è lui se lava. Vassene in altra contrada, e no, lo mi manda a diri, ed io rimango ingannata. Tanti sono i sospiri che mi fanno gran guerra la notte colodia. Né in cielo né in terra non mi pare ch'io sia. Notice the language, 13th century language here, from la scuola siciliana. You can understand quite a bit of it. Santus, Santus, Santus Deo, che la Vergine venisti, salve e guarda l'amor meo, poi da me lo dipartisti. Oi alta potestate, temuta e dotata, la mia dolce amistade ti sia accomandata. La croce salva la gente e me fece disviare. La croce mi fa dolente e non mi va il Dio pregare. She's blaming the crusade, the cross on the, on their armaments and their costumes. Says, this war is causing me trouble. Dio, why should I pray to you? Good one. It's a very, very sincere. Oi croce pellegrina, perché mai si distrutta? Oimè l'assa tapina, cardo e incendio tutto. Lo imperatore con pace tutto lo mondo mantiene, ed a me guerra face, che m'ha tolto la mia spena. See? The emperor is creating peace, but he's making me feel really bad. It's like a war in me. So, oi alta potestata, temuta e dotata, temuta, they fear them. La mia dolce amistade vi sia accomandata. So I recommend my friendship to you. Quando la croce pigliao, quando la croce pigliao, certo non mi pensai, quelli che tanto m'amavo e di lui tanto amai, che io ne fui battuta e messa in prigionia e in celata tenuta per la vita mia. So he caused me by my lover leaving me like I'm in a prison for as long as he's away. Le navi sono collate, in buonor possano andare, con elle la mia amistate e la gente che va a andare. Oi Padre Creatore, a porto le conduci, che vanno a servidore della Santa Croce. Però ti prego, dolcetto, tu che sai la pena mia, che me ne faccia un sonetto e mandilo in Siria, che io non posso avventare la notte né la dia, in terra d'oltremare sta la vita mia. So write to him. I want the cortigiano, the cortigiano to actually write something. He says, write me a sonetto. So you can understand the language here, it's a language of the people. That's how Italian then moved from Latin into this type of popular language. And of course, when you get a lot of popular languages, and we used to call them dialects, I call them popular languages because they were languages in themselves. But if you are in an Italy that has been divided for many centuries with north, south, and middle, and the language itself, the local languages of Italy needed to be brought together. And that's where la questione della lingua came in, and that's then the state demands that the structure of the language is codified, like in Latin times. La grammatica latina comes handy. And I've read some Latin, and I can tell you that they didn't have the articles or prepositions, but they had the declensions for the words. They had the adjectives, and they operated in the same way as in modern times. But the verbs always came at the end. So in other words, it wasn't a logical step. You said mela, io, o io, mela, sul tavolo, mangiare. You know what I mean? So the verb always came at the end in Latin. Not always. There are some exceptions, especially with the verb like to be, essere, and avere. Those verbs always been, especially the essere one, has been very important in Italian language. Okay, so that was Rinaldo d'Aquino. I'm going to look up the other, Il lamento di una tradita di Odo delle Colonne. If I can find it, it'll be good. It'll be very good. So, this one here, Il lamento per la partenza del crociato di Rinaldo d'Aquino. I due buoni rimatori sentirono forse fastidio della solita maniera e con gioia rinfrescarono la loro vena nell'onda del sentimento popolare. So these two people here, Odo delle Colonne and Rinaldo d'Aquino, were in the Sicilian school of Frederick II, and they were used to, the very disciplined, non-inspirational poetry. Componimento più aderente ai modi del popolo è il celebre contrasto di Giulio d'Alcamo. That's another one that we gotta find. Un oscuro rimatore di cui non è ben accertato neanche il nome. We don't even know whether Giulio d'Alcamo was actually his real name. La composizione di esso può collocarsi tra il 1231 e il 1250, 13th century. Assistiamo a un dialogo movimentato, colorito in un linguaggio che tiene del plebeo e si infiora bizzarramente qua e là di espressione della rimeria colta. O rimeria, sai? L'uomo vuole aspugnare la riluttanza non fatto di pudore ma distintiva difesa di una fanciulla. Ed il serrato duello si conchiude allorché egli ha giurato sul Vangelo che la sposerà con legittime sacrosante nozze. So, this one here says, il contrasto. It says, Love me now, don't let me wait, but I promise you I'll marry you. So why wait? And that's when, then problems arise when, in those times, it was if you weren't married and you had a baby, you were in trouble, real trouble. In questo genere di poesia troviamo quell'accento di verità che manca nei verseggiatori della maniera provenzaleggiante. So the people in court, this sincerity wasn't part of their world. E spesso nel corso della nostra letteratura ritroveremo il dualismo dell'artificio accademico da un lato e della spontaneità popolaresca dall'altro. And that is exactly what I've rebelled against, that dualismo dell'artificio accademico. I rebelled against it from day one with writing my poetry. I never thought that a rhyming poem, was real poetry. And I was right, but I was wrong at the same time, because the rhyming poems, they take a long time to work out. And I've tried a few of them, and I tell you, they're like a little nightmare. But, the really people who feel that they do that, sometimes they succeed wonderfully well, better than I could ever in my simple language that I use. And I'm blessed the fact that I've been in Melbourne, away from Italy, and English has become almost my first language. It's not, but it's almost my first language now, and it has affected the type of Italian that I speak. So when I speak, I don't really non parlo mondomurese. I don't do the Italian from my town. I can do it, but I try to avoid it. I speak in Italian, grammatically speaking. L'epica francese e la sua diffusione in Italia. Now, we said that the Italians picked up from the French, from France, from the Provenzale, around Marseille and further up in the southern part of France. They picked up a lot of their uses of language. They got there in French before the Italians did. Parallela alla poesia erotica della soleggiata Provenza, poesia erotica, soleggiata Provenza. Well, near Marseille, the sun shines all the time, and that's always been a tourist place from Roman times. So when you are near the beach, you want to have a swim, but I don't know whether the women were allowed, but they would even go in with their own clothes on. But again, that's why I said, this one here, parallela alla poesia erotica della soleggiata Provenza, si sviluppa nella Francia di lingua d'oeil una ricca letteratura epica e didattico-allegorica. Now these terms need to be explained. Didattica, that means like educational, and and allegorica, you say one thing and you mean another. So again, you could spend a whole day on this. L'imbarbarimento conseguito al tramonto di Roma ed il costituirsi del feudalismo richiamarono nel mondo il regno della forza e dell'individualismo. So, as a result of Rome's demise and the arrival of feudalism, of feudal living, in other words, according to a specific class of people, that's created, if you like, the idea that if you're strong, that's the way to go. And if you're strong, you're an individual. So you can do what another person who's weak can't do. So you go towards individualism. And as a result of it, it affects your brains and your writing, and you go into individual expression and intuition and the way you look at people. So that's where literature comes from. Ma come reazione all'incombente anarchia sorgono le leggi della cavalleria. But because there's so much anarchy, then the legge chivalry comes in. And, chivalry of the feudal ages, we saw that again in Queen Elizabeth's last night. All that pomp and ceremony comes, that's where cavalleria, la cavalleria. And of course the church, e si rafforza la potenza della Chiesa, and the church becomes more powerful than the people who are strong in arms. So a priest is actually stronger than a soldier, because he works under God. The soldier works under the king or the general. And that's why in that ceremony last night, you had the religious aspects of English society there in number one position, because the Queen was also the head of the English Church, l'alta Chiesa, dell'Inghilterra, going back to Henry VIII. So things are, once you start looking at history in a more detailed way, you actually get an idea about how to understand the modern world and how we're going to move forward. And it's interesting, the fact that Putin and Xi was not there, they weren't there. And I was wondering whether they made a big fuss of the Queen's funeral in their own country. Of course not. I'd be very surprised. But nobody talks about it. You look after your own. Now, tali condizioni erano un terreno propizio alle leggende epiche, e si cominciò a vagheggiare un tipo di eroe che all'eccezionale forza fisica, tanto ammirata da tutti i popoli primitivi, unisse nobiltà di sentire e dedizione alla fede, alla libertà o all'amore. I cavalieri del Medioevo, they were nobles, and they loved freedom. They also they united that primitive sense of strength, physical strength, with the new way of looking at their own people, with compassion and helping the weak, etc., etc. It's not always true, but those were the ideas. Tali condizioni erano un terreno propizio alle leggende epiche e si cominciò a vagheggiare un tipo di eroe che alla eccezionale forza fisica, tanto ammirata da tutti i popoli primitivi, unisse nobiltà di sentire e dedizione alla fede, alla libertà o all'amore. Quasi tutti i popoli d'Europa ebbero fra il VI secolo e il XIII secolo i loro cicli epici, quello dei Nibelunghi, intorno alla figura centrale di Sigfrido. We're talking about the Vikings here. Si svolse presso i Germani. La Spagna celebrò nel suo eroe nazionale Rodríguez Díaz de Vivar, detto il Cid, la lunghissima lotta contro le invasioni degli arabi infedeli. Nella Francia si ebbero due cicli predominanti, quello carolingio e quello bretone. And I've been looking at this era here from the 6th century to the 13th century. I've been looking at the Viking series and the Last Kingdom. I'm now looking for the Norsemen. I'm looking for the Gauls, the French, and the Spaniards. I'm going to look at those series and look at them. But at the moment, I'm also looking at the Empire of Qin in China. But it was about 300 years to 500 years or 200 years before the birth of Christ. So a lot of the ideas of feudalism came from there as well. It's an incredible thing to do, world history. I recommend it. I'm toying with the idea maybe that I should be doing a class in it in the University of the Third Age, but who knows? I'm already doing French and Italian now from term 4. We'll see what happens next year. Se siamo qui, se Dio vuole, that's what the Italians always say. And it's a good saying too. Carlo Magno aveva esteso il dominio dei Franchi oltre il Reno e oltre i Pirenei ed aveva battuto il regno longobardo in Italia, onde il Papa lo aveva incoronato come novello imperatore dei Romani e campione di Cristo contro gli infedeli. That was the year 800. Carlo Magno è stato incoronato, he was crowned, and his state was l'impero romano cristiano. La leggenda si impadronì ben presto della sua figura ed esaltò le geste sue e dei valorosi paladini, comites paladini, conti di palazzo. So that's what they were, i paladini. They were counts, they were noble people from with the crown. Si diffusero le chanson de geste composte in lingua dei trouvères, confronta i troubadours, nella poesia provenzale, trouvères, e recitati con l'accompagnamento di una sorta di violino, il liuto, e degli stessi autori o dai giullari. Famosa e bellissima la chanson di Roland del secolo XI, attribuita ad un certo Turoldo, Orlando, il più valente dei paladini, che possiede l'infallibile spada detta Durendal, nella cui else sono custodite sacre reliquie e il corno d'avorio detto olifante, il cui suono vola a grandissima distanza, mentre conduce la retroguardia di Re Carlo, rappresentato come un vagliardo dalla lunga barba 2 volte centenario. Viene nella gola di Roncisvalle per il tradimento dell'invidioso Gane, presso in mezzo dai Saraceni, e perisce con i suoi dopo un'eroica lotta. Troppo tardi egli si lascia indurre a suonare il corno per avvertire Re Carlo e rende cristianamente la generosa anima che gli angeli riportano al Creatore. Quanto a Gano, al ritorno in Francia paga il fio della sua perfidia. Il fatto è storico ed avvenne nell'anno 778 d.C., ma la leggenda lo ha trasfigurato. L'altro ciclo, quello bretone, si organizza intorno alla figura di Re Artù, King Arthur, forse mai esistito. Don't tell that to the English. Che avrebbe difeso la parte meridionale della Britannia contro gli assalti degli Angli o dei Sassoni. Se nel ciclo carolingio prevalgono le imprese collettive, nazionali e religiose, cui è subordinata l'attività dei singoli paladini, in quello bretone vide individualismo aristocratico che si attua in favolose avventure personali e nel culto cavalleresco dell'amore. Again, this needs to be understood. I prodi di Re Artù si chiamano pari e quando si adunano siedono ad una tavola rotonda affinché l'etichetta classificatoria dei posti diversi non indichi la superiorità dell'uno rispetto all'altro. And that's where you come in with the idea of the Senate now. The Senate, the House of Rep. Some of the ideas come from centuries before. For example, in Australia, we have the Senate elected. There are 10 people from each one of the states in the Senate. Now, some states have got more population than others, yet when they sit together, they make decisions for the whole country. Interesting. E da questo costume deriva l'altro appellativo di ciclo della tavola rotonda. The idea... what's his name? Bob Hawke used this idea, getting the people, to discuss both, the unions and the CEOs, the capitalists, different sections of the population, the bankers, get them all together around a table and discuss how to best move forward. So, the Tavola Rotonda, that was the idea, how you manage together. But you must recognize King Arthur. You have to recognize the leader, who almost sits there but doesn't necessarily contribute. He makes the ultimate decisions later, after the round table conference has occurred. Queste leggende vennero prima narrate in canti bretoni al suono dell'arpa. The harp was used and it was sung about these people, o del violino o del flauto. In poemetti francesi, gli uni e gli altri detti les, ed infine dettero materia a numerosi romanzi in prosa. Mentre il popolo preferiva le geste dei paladini carolingi, i gentiluomini e le dame aristocratiche si deliziavano degli eventi sentimentali e fortunosi di Tristano e Isotta, di Lancilotto e Ginevra, whom Dante puts in hell because they betrayed their husbands. That's what they did. So, a questo ciclo si riallaccia la leggenda del San Graal, il mistico vaso in cui Giuseppe d'Arimatea avrebbe custodito il sangue sgorgato dalle piaghe del Redentore. Wow, the Sacred Graal. Il quale vaso sarebbe scomparso e soltanto un eroe di immacolata purità, Parsifal, riesce a ritrovare la miracolosa reliquia che alla morte di lui gli angeli riporteranno in cielo. Beautiful stuff. Oltre al carolingio ed al bretone, nel Medioevo ci fu il ciclo classico. Vi compaiono eroi dell'antico mondo greco-romano, deformati dall'ignoranza, anacronisticamente atteggiati fino a confondersi coi campioni della cavalleria. So some of the old personalities of the myths from the Roman times and the Greek times, they sort of came up as well. Il mondo classico, il mondo carolingio, il mondo bretone. So these are legends, if you like, that we still today love to read about. In Italia non sorse una poesia epica nazionale. Well, of course not, because they were divided. E non è qui il luogo di ricercarne le probabili ragioni. I can tell you the probably ragioni was that Italy was divided. It was under, had become the place where you went to fight some wars as well. From France and Germany, they loved to go down with their armies and show their power. So how could you write, create something like that? They couldn't. But in a small way, they did. If you take, for example, the game of chess in Marostica, and i Ducati in Italy, in Tuscany and there on the other side, and the Borgia in Milano, you get, and then i Doge di Venezia, they all have developed their own as well. So I don't think that, ma l'epopea straniera vi si diffuse con crescente fortuna. So the people I just mentioned, they are the areas of Italy that adopted some of these stories and readapted them to themselves, are still there today. Furono dapprima degli oscuri cantastorie che andavano recitando per le regioni settentrionali dei rozzi rifacimenti dell'epopea carolingia in un linguaggio ibrido di dialetto e di francese. So these are the people, and I think la commedia dell'arte eventually 2 or 3 centuries later, 4 centuries later, comes about because of all this. La materia viene poi ripresa e rielaborata nei poemi detti per la lingua mista usatavi, franco-veneti, quali l'Entrée d'Espagne di incerto autore, La prise de Pampelune di Niccolò de Verona, che narrano la conquista della Spagna da parte di Carlo Magno. Di epoca posteriore fra il XIII e il XIV secolo è il Buovo d'Antono, riduzione e traduzione dal francese in volgare di Anonimo. Alla stessa epoca risalgono opere analoghe del ciclo bretone come il Tristano e la Tavola Rotonda ed altri pertinenti al ciclo classico come l'Istorietta Troiana e i Fatti di Cesare. That's it. That was, the influence of France, l'epica francese e sua diffusione in Italia. So it was important. Fantastic. I hope you liked it. Of course, this requires at least another few lessons. I haven't got time now, but I've got to make a living too. So let's do it this way. What if I say to you that I would like to have here at Insegna some services, languages services, and I'll try to do my best for whoever is interested, whether it's learning the Italian or, going through particular books or whatever, grammar, you name it. I can offer those services occasionally, but I need real people to come to me and say, yes, I'm interested, and yes, I don't mind, paying a small fee for this, especially if there is a small group of 4 or 5. It makes it worthwhile for the student and for the teacher, for me. And this applies to my students, if anyone wants to, my students want to, from the University of the Third Age, they want extras, extra time, etc. I can provide it, depending on what you want to do with the language, what are your intentions. I can follow you, and I can make sure that you have, the right material, the right advice, if you like, because when I behave as a teacher, that's what I can give. It's like, it's like a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. You want something personal, then you can make arrangements to do that. Okay, next week we'll be looking, what's next week? Tuesday. I'm going away so for this Friday and Sunday, I won't have any lessons for French and Spanish and also for Dante Alighieri. And I'm hoping that next week, next Tuesday, I'll be back and I'll do the next lesson for Italian lessons. But if I'm away, forgive me. If something happens, delays or whatever, then it has to wait a little bit longer. But I'll try to be here as usual, 11:25 to 12:30, and we'll continue with Storia della letteratura italiana. Okay? I thought today we did quite well, especially the fact that I read this poem by Rinaldo d'Aquino. I'll try to find the other ones as well, and let's hope that I do. Okay? Now, I deserve a song. Okay? And I'm going to do Signora Fortuna. Signora Fortuna. Okay. Let's go. Yes? But I need water. I don't know. There's too much talking. That was a good idea, the lessons here at Insegna. I do have more time now because I've been able to organize myself, and I can dedicate more of Insegna time to Insegna, let's say, but from a service point of view, not just material. Okay. So here we go. Signora Fortuna. C'è una strada chiamata destino che porta in collina. C'è sul colle una casa argentata dal chiaro di luna. Chi va in cerca d'amore vi trova una fata divina, che è signora del bene e del male e si chiama Fortuna. Bella, le dissi in pianto, tu che fai tante grazie, una soltanto, dammi l'amore di una bimba bruna. Quella volta m'ha chiusa la porta, signora Fortuna, oh signora Fortuna. Ed avevo una bella casetta di sogni e d'amore, ed avevo un amore di bimba dagli occhi di mare. Ma un'ondata di vento ha distrutto la casa e il mio cuore. T'ho pregato, signora Fortuna, davanti all'altare. Bella, se mi vuoi bene, falla tornar che io muoio dalle pene. Non ho ancora più, non ho più amore, non ho più nessuna, ed ancora mai chiuso la porta, signora Fortuna. Oh signora Fortuna, ma stanotte guidata dal cuore, ma stanotte guidato dal cuore da un raggio di luna, ho ripreso la strada più antica che è sempre più buona. C'era un'ombra tremante, la chioma più bianca che bruna, e m'ha detto in un bacio, son mamma che mai t'abbandona. Mamma, fortuna mia, questa è la miglior grazia che ci sia, perché di mamma ce n'è solo una. Questa volta puoi chiudere la porta, signora Fortuna. Oh, signora Fortuna. Oh my God. Well, oh my God. Unbelievable. Have I lost my voice now? No, I can't. I can't lose my voice. Because we did last week, we did Cantiamo. Let me see. What page was it? Yes. Here we go. The next lot is, guess, cosa facciamo? All right? Cosa facciamo? Never mind. Facciamo qualcosa di bello, qualcosa di interessante e di nuovo. Cosa c'è di nuovo? Non tanto, le solite cose. Il bello viene adesso, il brutto è già passato. Volete disegnare? No, io non ci sto. Giochiamo allora, ci stai? Prenditi cura dei libri. Chi pensa alle penne? Ci penso io. Tu bada alla pulizia. Ci bado io o ci badi tu? Io devo badare ai pennelli. Fallo da sola, fatelo da soli o fatelo da sole. Facciamolo assieme, un po' ciascuno. I'll show you now. So here we go. This is the way. As I said, you need resources in order to do Italian properly and to enjoy it. This one here. Facciamo una mostra di che cosa? Di tutti i nostri giocattoli, dei nostri oggetti di collezione. le macchinette, i francobolli, le cartoline, le bambole, le statuette di animali. Bella idea, li mettiamo tutti in mostra, ognuno porta le sue cose, i nostri giocattoli, l'orsetto, la bambola di pezza, il coccodrillo, l'ippopotamo, la rana, la giraffa, il koala, il canguro, il cavallo, la pecora, l'agnello, eccetera, e così via. Okay? So, now would you remember how you say, let's do something nice? And then you say, what do we do? Here it is, cosa facciamo? So you've got both the English and the Italian next to it. So by doing this, you learn. And if you're in two, you can play a game. You can say, how many do you know? We do one each. Whoever doesn't remember pays for the caffè latte or the cappuccino. Okay, so you can, you know, this book here can also be used for games with children. So it's really worthwhile. But as I said, I've been thinking about how can I be of assistance a bit more and assist other people and assist myself at the same time a little bit, because you know, having classes maybe is the way to interact with people, you know, more than the time that one can give. I can only do a class 1 hour a week, sometimes not enough. So if somebody is in a hurry to learn and wants to dedicate more time, then I can provide that, okay? So that's important. Also, you know, checking up translations and things like that. Everything is possible. As long as it's linguistic or historical, we can get there together. All right, so that's really cosa facciamo. Now, the next one, the next one is I have to select some. I have to select some other things about the Roman, you know, the Roman, for example. I mentioned before the chief Latin writers. Who were they? Okay, the ones that I've heard of is Plautus, Catullus, Virgil, Horace, Ovid, Lucan, Valerius, and then there's also Caesar. He's a historian and essayist. Livy, I've heard of. Tacitus. Pliny, Cicero, Seneca. There are only a few of the people that I know, but there are many more. There are many more. And there are also some dates in Roman history. Okay, let me tell you. 1000 BC, Etruscans reach Italy. The Etruscans, 1000 BC. Rome was established by Romulus and Remus in April 753 before Christ. In 814, then Carthage in Libya was established then. 753, then Rome was established. 650 to 500, the Etruscans dominant in Italy. So the Romans, before the Romans were dominant, the Etruscans were dominant in Italy between the years of 650 to 500. And in 538, there is some of the Battle of Alalia. Never heard of it. In 509 before Christ, there were 7 kings of Rome. They were expulsion. They were expelled from Rome. No more. Rome became a republic. 450, decemvirs at Rome, laws of the 12 tables. So by 450, it's another 59 years, 60 years, they made some laws. Veii taken by Camillus, don't know about them. Battle of the Alia, Rome taken by Gauls. So, the Romans didn't always win. That was in 390. 343 to 290, 3 Samnite wars, and 340 Latin war. 281, war between Pyrrhus and Rome. Pyrrhus, he was from Carthage. And the elephants, that's so 264 to 241, First Punic War. There were 3 Punic Wars. This was the first one. 229 to 19, 2 Illyrian Wars. 218 to 20, Second Punic War. Trasimene, Cana, and Zama. 200 to 196, and 171 to 167, and 149, 148, 4 Macedonian Wars. 191, 190, at defeat of Antiochus at Thermopylae and at Magnesia. Interesting. 168, the Battle of Pydna. 149, 146, Third Punic War, Carthage is destroyed. Salt is put over its rubble. Macedonia becomes a Roman province in 148. And that's it for now. Oh, I might go a little bit more. 133, Roman conquest of Numantia. 133 to 122, the tribunate of the Gracchi brothers and family. Jugurthine War, 111, 106. Marius Consul, 107, 100. 102, 101, Cimbri and Teutones defeated by Marius. Social war. He was a famous general, Marius. 88, 82, civil war between Marius and Sulla. Sulla's dictatorship. 84, 88, 84, 83, 82, 74, 63, 3 Mithridatic wars. 70, Pompey and Crassus are consuls. 64, conquest of Syria. 63, Cicero consul. Catiline's conspiracy. And Cicero, first triumvirate in 60. Caesar conquest of Gaul in 55. 58 to 51. For 7 years he conquered the Gaul. He conquered France. In 55, Caesar invaded Britain. Okay, and then 54, 53, the Parthian expedition, death of Crassus, 49, 48, civil war between Caesar and Pompey, Battle of Passavia, death of Pompey, Battle of Tapus, death of Caesar, 41, 44, 43, the second triumvirate, followed by second civil war, Battle of Philippi, Battle of Actium, establishment of the Roman Empire under Augustus, campaigns of Brutus and Tiberius in Germany. Okay, AD, now we're talking about after the birth of Christ. Maybe I will leave that there for next time, okay? So we've done up to, these are some dates in Roman history. I better write it down, huh? we did speak, parla speak. And some dates in Roman history. Up to AD. Okay. Before Christ. Okay. So that's that in terms of Rome. But now I would like to concentrate a little bit on, well, we said Caesar, didn't we? We said Caesar. So this is, Caesar visits Britain. I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to show you the Latin. And we'll read it, you know. I've taken my time today because it's important. What have I done here? Here we go. Okay. Caesar visits Britain. And if anyone wants to learn Latin, I would be quite willing to do it as well. Gaius Julius Caesar, Dux, I can't see properly. I've got to put it like this. Wait a minute. Sorry, I can't say it. I'm trying to get you to participate. There we are. Gaius Julius Caesar, Dux Praeclarus Romanorum in Gallia pugnans multa de Britannia cognovit. Mercatores enim e Britannia ad Galliam transgressi multa emebant ac vendebant. Et Britannia auxilium Gallis Caesari resi stentibus semper mittebant. Caesar igitur, Gallis victis et navibus paratis, in Britanniam transgredi, constituit, profecturi tamen milites, magna tempestate cohorta, naves concendere vix poterant, cum pluribus post diebus cum tempestate naves pene delete essent. Romani Britanniae appropinquantes in colas in omnibus collibus instructos conspecterunt egrenties Romanos Britanni pilis coniectis depellere conati sunt, sed quamquam multos Romanorum vulnera verunt tandem superati sunt. Notice the verb sunt, they are, sort of thing. Okay? So, I have done Latin up to year 11 here in Melbourne, but I haven't done it for a long time. So if anyone wants to do Latin, again, in a class situation, I can work my way through, and I'm sure that I can, more than meet the demands of anyone who comes here. Okay? Okay, Caesar visits Britain. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do a couple of songs. One song is called Nasere Maggio. This is in Napoletano. Here we go. Quando viene appuntamento, guarda mare, guarda fronte, si te parla non risponde, stai distratta come che, io te tengo dentro cuore, son sempre innamorato, ma tu invece pensi nata e te stai scordando me. Quando si dice sì, tiene la mente, non sa da fa morire, non ancora amante. Tu mi dicesti sì, una sera maggio, e mo tieno coraggio, e me la sa. Sto occhi tuoi non so sincera, come a quando mi incontraste, come a quando mi diceste voglio bene solo a te, e tremando mi giuraste, con una mano in coppa cuore, non si scordo prima amore, mo te stai scordando me. Quando si dice sì, tienilo a mente, non sa da fa morire, non ancora amante. Tu mi dicesti sì, una sera maggio, e mo tieno coraggio, e me la sa. Well, that was, a good way, una sera maggio. I'd like to do another one, even though I'm over time. I'm going to do this one here, and then we'll finish, okay? So here we go, Champagne by Peppino Di Capri, ok? Champagne per brindare a un incontro con te che già eri di un altro. Ricordi, c'era stato un invito, stasera si va tutti a casa mia. Così cominciava la festa e già ti girava la testa. Per me non contavano gli altri, seguivo con lo sguardo solo te. Se vuoi ti accompagno, se vuoi, la scusa più banale per rimanere soli io e te, e poi gettare via i perché, amarti come sei, la prima volta, l'ultima. Champagne per un dolce segreto, per noi un amore proibito, ormai resta solo un bicchiere ed un ricordo da gettare via. Lo so, mi guardate, lo so, mi sembra una pazzia brindare solo senza compagnia, ma io devo festeggiare la fine di un amore. Cameriere, champagne. It's a beautiful song, short, but with the music, Peppino Di Capri, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for today. I spend a bit more time on la letteratura, but I do need to spend more time on it, otherwise I'll get to, lesson 60 and I won't have finished. So I'm very happy again to have been here with you. Thank you to Lyle and Alan as well for coming on. And thank you to all the people who, keen and look at these podcasts of mine. And they're available on YouTube, of course, all about it. So if you're further interested, some development occurred today here at Insegna, contact me. Once again, Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and, of course, Insegna Booksellers. Ciao, arrivederci, alla prossima.